Our last presenter of the evening is Hale, who is an absolutely brilliant skipper. He has more miles under his keel than most of us combined. A big Maui win, as I understand it, in your division, and some incredible sailing. As I mentioned before, my first Southern Straits was on his boat. Despite that, I think he's kept sailing, so I didn't turn him off of it entirely, which is a good thing. The other thing I'll say is, look, if anyone has any questions, and this is whether we've covered it or not in this particular seminar, there's a lot of people here that know what they're talking about, that have done this race a whole bunch of times. We've got riggers, sailmakers, skippers, I don't even know what to say, a whole bunch of people. So look, if anyone has any questions, please voice them at the end. I'd love to hear them all. For now, heavy weather sailing is going to be covered by Hale himself.
Thank you. I'm sort of feeling like the Grinch that stole Christmas here, because everybody's been talking about fun stuff, and trust me, the race is fun. There was a picture earlier on about from the 2010 snap of a boat sort of up on the top of the wave, and yes, that was Turicum. Turicum and Kinetic were the only two boats that actually finished a leg of the race. And we're planning to carry on, except they told us there was no more race, so we stopped. You actually can have fun when everything's going to hell around you, but you kind of have to be prepared for it a little bit. So there's a couple of things that what I'd like to explain. One of the people that helped with safety at sea, of course, that we've been running at West Vancouver for the last year and a half or so. And over again, one of the things that's come up has been there's a difference of what we hear about weather on the radio and what is being said to us about weather on the radio. And unfortunately, there's been some bad outcomes. The Fastnet disaster, the Sydney Hobart disaster, and the near disaster that we had here. So there's a couple of things that really important I'd like to get out, and that is the forecasts are just a prediction of the future. It's their best guess, and when you get a wind forecast, it's a sustained speed. Okay, it's a sustained speed. You may get gusts, and this is the important part. The gust can be 40% higher than the forecast wind speed. So if they're forecasting 20 knots of wind, it's entirely possible that you could see something just short of 40 knots.
In your experience, when that happens, is that suddenly you're in 40 knots and the boat's laying over, or is it a gradual build-up?
It'll vary, but often it's a bang, and you're on your side. Because the other problem is that as the speed doubles, the forces on the boat square, so they go up 4 times. So you get a stronger wind, and the boat's lying down on the water. So I've been accused of going through the radio or the computer or wherever to get various sources of weather and then pick the one that I like best. But that isn't what you should be doing. You should keep very firmly fixed in your mind what the forecast is, and then remind yourself that it could be 50% more, almost 50% more. It even gets worse with waves, because if they're forecasting 20 knots with 4-meter seas or 3-meter seas in Georgia Strait, and by the way, Turicum's fastest speed was achieved in Georgia Strait, not out in the Pacific Ocean. If they're forecasting 3 to 4-meter seas in Georgia Strait, you will get peak waves that will be twice that high.
4 meters in Georgia Strait?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 3 to 4 meters.
Just want to check my math. Just check metric conversion.
Remember, a wave is measured from the bottom to the top. But you would have waves out there that could be double that. So just keep it in mind. And remember, the race committee does not make the decision as to whether the race is going to start. That's your decision to make. You make that decision whether you're going to leave the dock, whether you're going to continue the race, or whether you're going home. So it's kind of the one little thing that you have to watch for. Now, where do you get your weather information? You can get your weather information in two places. Obviously, you get it off your VHF radio, but you can also get weather information off your computer. Probably you all know that. And more importantly, you can get it off your smartphone. Again, what happened with Southern Straits race is that Environment Canada gave the upgraded and uprated weather forecast with the stronger winds, passed that information on to Coast Guard, but Coast Guard was already going nuts because they had a whole bunch of boats that were in serious trouble, and they didn't bother, or couldn't, pass that information on to the fools who are out there. So we didn't realize that the forecast had been uprated, and instead of blowing 50 knots, they were now operating it to 60 to 65 knots. The only place you will get that information is on your cell phone. Because your cell phone gets the information directly from Environment Canada. Your cell phone doesn't get filtered, so as soon as Environment Canada comes up with that information, it's on your cell phone. Really handy tool to have. Okay. We haven't had a strong winds out here since the 2010 race. Whether it's going to be this year, whether it'll be 5 years from now, who knows? But Southern Straits is known for being a gear buster. I've personally witnessed masts dropping left and right. So what you want to do is, between now and Southern Straits, pick an afternoon, actually take that storm jib that's stuffed down in the bilge or up underneath the steering somewhere, drag it out, actually find it, and see if it will fit on the boat. Get a couple of sheets, attach the sheets, pull the thing up in the air, find out how it'll actually hoist and how you can fly it.
Question for you, just to go back a little bit, we were talking about the forecast. You were saying how you like to sort of look through forecasts to find the one that you like the most. Is there one that you find is most accurate? Is there one that you find more often than not represents the actual truth?
Yes.
Sail flow, the UBC is not bad. I mean, it's a matter of looking at all of them. And don't look at them the day before the race. Start looking at all your weather forecasts a week to 2 weeks before the race. Start getting a feeling for what's going on. Usually weather does not happen instantly. There's a pattern, and look for the pattern. Okay. It just makes it better. Back to the getting ready for the heavy weather. Put your storm jib up. Find it, put it up, put it someplace. Particularly if the weather forecast is for it's going to blow. Have it on hand so you can get it up in the air. The other thing is, I'm a huge fan of, it's getting pretty blowy, let's reef. Because if it doesn't get stronger, you can always pull the reef out really fast. The worst thing to do is have to change sails when everything is going to hell in a handbasket. Get the sail change done early, gear down fast, and then if you have to, you can power back up again. It's tough to gear down when everything is coming apart on you. So those are the main things I wanted to stress. Listen to the weather broadcasts. Remember what they're actually really saying. take your storm sails out, put them up in the air, bind them. Your storm sails should have sheets attached, okay? Actually, the regulations say that sheets must be attached to your storm jet. We use the term, the things that you consider in heavy weather is crew, craft, mission. So your first thing is crew, keep your crew in good shape, keep your crew happy, keep your crew alive. Craft, that ties in with the crew. You've got to maintain that boat. You have to keep your boat in decent condition because that is your home. That's what's keeping you out of the water. And the mission, whether you're going on to complete the race or you're going to bail out and go to the pub in Nanaimo, take a look and see what makes the greatest amount of sense to you. Questions?
I got a comment.
Yep.
So, well, my question is, storm sails. You're saying test your storm sails out. There should be sheets attached and everything.
Yep.
I have storm sails in my boat that they look beautiful. I doubt they've ever been flown. They have sheets attached. They're
You're just bragging now.
They're incredible. But I mentioned Thursday Shell
When
one
you have
last
them in the
year.
air.
I've put them in the air. They don't actually go up properly because I have.
Disqualified.
Yeah, well, no, it's that exactly. I have slugs in my mast. And in order to actually get my trysail up, I have to go and get a very small screwdriver and take a plate off of my mast, hoping I don't drop anything, individually remove all of the slugs, and then feed this bolt rope into my mast and make that work.
You're going to be in deep doo-doo.
Maybe another
There's all kinds of ways to learn.
You might want to change.
Number one, and maybe Steve can help.
And what you want to do,
I don't go crazy on trysails, but sure as hell you have to have a storm jib that goes up, sets, you know where you sheet it, everything's set and ready to go. Storm trysails?
And what you want to do is put a spectral luff rope in that trysail, and then just hoist it without it being attached internally into the mast.
Okay.
If you just put a spectral luff rope in, then you can just pull it tight.
And then just tighten the living snot out of it.
Yeah, tighten the snot out of it,
Crank.
and you'll be fine.
Do I put like a retention line around the mast? Because obviously it's not going to go above my spreaders.
You get an alloy rig or a carbon rig.
Alloy. I'd love a carbon.
Then
You offering?
can just put a sail tie around it, and it'll slide up because your trysail should sit probably 3 or 4 feet above the height of the boom.
That's, yeah. Perfect.
Just got a couple of random comments from a kind of a Div 7 slow boat perspective.
Woo!
Couple.
I think it's 4-knot shitbox actually.
Three things. I had a jib. I knew exactly how to fly it. Nobody else on the boat was comfortable steering it. It was super windy. And somebody else needs to know how to put up your jib. It's no like I'm sitting there. Oh, well, you just do it like this. There's no way.
Yeah.
Somebody else needs to see how to do it when there's no wind.
Yeah.
That was point A. Point B. Put your hatch boards in. Your boat goes over.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. If your hatch boards are open, it matters.
Yeah.
And point 3, if it's really windy, clip everyone in. Because I can tell you when the boat goes over and all shit's breaking loose and everybody's clipped in with a harness, you're not that stressed. When the boat goes over and people are like falling and they're not attached and you know that the wind is such that you probably don't know how to get them out of the water again, that's stressful. So those are my...
I think
Observation.
Estabrook was in the smallest boat that made it to Nanaimo in 2010.
Yeah, the only 27-foot boat that snapped his boom and still made it to Nanaimo in 2010.
Yeah.
No requirements to have storm sail attached to the head foot.
Sorry?
No requirement to have your storm sail attached to a head foot.
No, matter of fact, your storm sail has to have grommets in it so that you can lash it to your forestay. But you have to lash it to the forestay.
If it's a storm jib, Huntley, it has to have the lashing already attached.
Yeah.
And you don't want to use Spectra. You want to use stuff. Whatever, the nastier the better. And the simple reason is that Spectra will slide and slip if you ever tie a knot in a piece of Dyneema or Spectra. It always manages to work its way out. So if you use sail tie, something 3-stranded, anything. But it does have to have the lashing already in the storm sail.
So what you're saying is it can be a tape that you run through your foil.
It can be a tape that runs through your foil, but I can pretty much more, or Hale will tell you this, the first thing that's going to happen, you go over one big wave and that thing just pulls right out of the foil.
Yeah, fair enough.
The 2000 coming back from Hawaii, got into a micro storm, 74 knots, came off a wave, the rudder broke off, It was a little awkward.
Who's steering this thing anyway?
Downwind, jib only, downwind, followed by a couple of jibes, and as Steve said, zap. The jib was right out of the forestay. Luckily, the halyard let go.
Luckily.
Yeah, it was. The halyard broke. The jib fell in the water, and it acted as a sea anchor, a drove. And the boat pivoted around, sat 45 degrees into the wind, and we just nicely rode out the storm. That's at about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Good planning.
Oh, fantastic.
Great planning. It's all the execution.
So by about 7 o'clock in the morning, we got the sail back out of the water, and I had punched holes up the forestay, or up the luff of the jib. The only thing I had was some red polyester line. So we chopped it up, hanked the sail on with these red lines, and hoisted it again. And by about 8:30 in the morning, we're heading back to Vancouver at 8 knots. We had a rudder that was about 6 to 9 inches.
It's like a Catalina OEM rudder.
So you kept everybody in the stern of the boat.
Everybody in the back. Big shark fin.
And away we go. We had a couple of Americans on board, and they came up and they went, "Son of a bitch, you Canadians are really tough sailors because you use 1/4-inch lines for telltales on your jib."